Hey guys, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you might be while we're watching this. Um, Today I'm going to go through uh, all the plumbing fittings that we typically use in the field. How you can identify them. How do you know if you have a compression thread you're dealing with, or are you dealing with a hose thread or a pipe thread? How you can tell the difference. How you can identify fittings without a picture, just by the description of what they are, and how we use some of the things and the terminology like FIP and MIP and MHT and all these terms, what they mean, and you'll know exactly what they are by the time we're done watching this. Okay. Another part of the plumbing world is they're very gender specific. How they describe parts, they're not very politically. See, I can't even say that, politically correct. Anyways, so you're gonna see male fittings, female fittings, nipples, that type of thing. It's just that's the plumbing world, okay. I'm just gonna randomly go through all these fittings, pick them up, and just ramble on about how you figure out what they are, okay. So all the brass stuff that we use, and some of the copper and the flex lines, and some of the plastic fittings, and how they all intermingle, and how you can make them work, and how you can easily figure out what you need. Okay, so let's just turn this thing around, and I'll just get started here. Okay, so most of you guys that have hung manual equipment, right? Most of the manual equipment plumbing is 3/8, that size 3/8. So you're really familiar with, you've held these in your hands. You know that this is 3/8, right? You've held this thing in your hand. You know that it's 3/8, right? Well, so a lot of it's memorization. You got to memorize this size. Then you know if this size is too small, the next size up is going to be 1/2 inch. And if that's too small, the next size up is going to be 3/4 inch, right? And it keeps going up and up. So, what's the difference between the thread types? I mean, this looks like two different thread types. They're not. This is a pipe thread. And pipe threads have really deep grooves in them like that. But they're very uniform. You see how uniform it is? They're not pitched at an angle. Like a hose thread is kind of pitched at an angle, right? See the angle of that? So, pipe thread is very uniform. You're going to have about 8 threads or so per 1/2 inch. And you have to remember, whenever you're screwing in a pipe thread, because it's so deep, the channels are so deep, they have to fill that with sealant. And you can see that they put some sort of paste on here, right, as the sealant. And this will work fine. You can also tape this up with Teflon tape. So any pipe thread will need a sealant, whether it's paste, tape, or an O-ring. Some of these, let me just grab you this hose right here. This hose right here, it says right here, 3/4 inch FIP. Now what's FIP? FIP stands for female iron pipe thread. Female iron pipe thread, right? And in this particular case, they put an O-ring in there for you, okay? And that is your gasket. So you wouldn't need to put tape thread or a pipe tape on this because it has an O-ring in it, right? So if I was to use this, this is a 3/4 inch size, as it said in the tag. This, I know, is a 3/4 inch iron pipe nipple. So this should screw right in there fine, right? Which it does. And you're always, whenever you're testing fittings, you don't want any slop. You don't want it to be sloppy at all. And let me just demonstrate what I mean by that. Here is a, let's see. Where'd I have that? So this is a 3/8 compression cap. Okay, I know that because I know that. But see how fine the threads are on that? They're really short, fine. This is a pipe thread plug, right? A little bit more opened up here. Will it screw on there? It will. But you'll know if you got it wrong or not by when you first start it. It looks like it's going on there fine. But you see all that slop it has? It's going to have slop all the way down until it tightens up. And it'll tighten up, but I guarantee you this will leak out past these threads because they're not exactly the same. They might work, but if you see a lot of slop going in, it is not going to be correct. All right? So let's see. Let's talk a little bit more about compression threads now. So compression threads don't use pipe tape at all. They don't use O-rings at all. Straight compression threads I'm talking about. So you're going to have a nut, you're going to have a ferrule, and you're going to have the fitting, right? So this is a 3/8. Where's that other one? So these are those nipples I was talking about, right? So I have this size memorized. I know that this is a 3/8 male pipe thread by 3/8 compression adapter, right? So how does the compression work? So how it works is there's a metal ferrule or they call this, no, it's not an insert. They call this a ferrule, okay? And this is your nut, and it fits on there nice and tight, right? And then you want to make sure that this edge is nice and flat. And if you look inside a compression fitting, you're going to see a stop inside there, okay? You're going to see that stop, and that's where the pipe sits. That's the seat for the pipe. So make sure that hits all the way down to bottom. And this is going to push inside there. And then when you screw this down, and you put a wrench on this side and a wrench on that side, and you crank it down, it's going to crush that ferrule onto that pipe. And if it's not tight enough, it'll leak through here. So if you put one of these on and tighten it, and it starts dripping right there, that ferrule just is not crushed down. It hasn't bit into the. So you don't want to use Teflon tape. You've got a bad seat. So either you have to replace this thing, or you might want to clean up your pipe, but it shouldn't leak. And if it does, you're going to have to take some other steps. Putting some tape on it isn't really the answer. It's just not making a good connection. So this is a typical compression fitting. Another type is there's plastic ones too. So this manufacturer kind of welds that ferrule inside there. You see that? So this is for your 1/4-inch chemical tube on a dish machine. This is a check valve inside here, but so this is a compression fitting, and it'll compress down, compress that tubing so it won't leak, right? And this is a pipe thread. It kind of looks like a compression thread, doesn't it? But the smaller these pipe sizes get, the more confusing it kind of looks. It kind of looks like a compression thread, but it's just not. I wonder if this would screw on here. I don't think it will. No, it won't. So, anyways, compression. Here's another size. They just get bigger and bigger and bigger, but you can see. So you see how short the shoulder is here? So they're expecting to make that seal in this small amount of space, okay? Where this is a pipe thread, this is a 1/2-inch size, and you can see how deep these threads are. So this would have to screw in really deep with some sealant. This will require no sealant because it's going to use that compression ferrule that's inside to make the seal. And you see that stop at the bottom there, right? So that's that. Did we talk about hose threads? Let's talk about hose threads. So let's say we were going to try to identify what this part is without a picture, just by the description. So if you need this part, you would be looking for a 3/4-inch MHT, so 3/4-inch male hose thread by 3/8 pipe thread adapter, right? It's exactly the same thing as, where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where did it go, guys? I don't see it now. Oh, right here. It's right in front of me. So this, what's the difference between this and this? There's no difference other than material and length. But if you needed to order, this is also a 3/4 inch hose thread by 3/8 pipe thread, right? Male by male. It's male by male. And just remember, whenever, so this would be the male side, this would be the female side, right? And this, see how there's a gasket in there. So hose threads don't require any pipe tape either. So if this was leaking, you don't really want to put pipe tape on there. You'd either have a bad thread or a bad gasket to fix that, right? Let's say you needed a bushing. Let's say that this is way too small for the pipe that you want it to go into. You need to screw this in, but it's too loose. You need something to plug this in so you can put your hose on it. You might need a bushing. Well, what bushing do I need? What's a bushing? So they make bushings. So this would be this is a 1/2 inch male iron pipe. So the outside is 1/2 inch male iron pipe, which is what you need. And the inside is 3/8 female iron pipe on the inside. So if I was to take this bushing and I screwed this into the pipe, and let's see, do I have a pipe? Do I have a pipe? I do have a pipe. So here's your pipe, right? You need to connect to, so you get your bushing. You put some pipe tape on here, remember, because there's no O-ring in there and it's going to leak. So you put pipe tape here. You screw this in nice and tight. You know that's right? Screws in all the way. Put some pipe tape on here or paste and screw that into there. And now you have a good seat. So 3/8 by 1/2 inch, right? Remembering these sizes all the time in your world, so you can identify what you need. Okay. So that's that. So push fittings are the next thing. So remember when I said if it's not straight through like this is straight through, so this would be considered a coupling, right? This would be considered an adapter. Anything other than connecting the same to the same would be considered an adapter. So if you needed one of these, I need one of these, I need to order it without a picture, what would you order? I know I need 1/2 inch pipe. So I need a female, if I'm connecting to this piece right here, I need something female to connect to that. So I need a female 1/2 inch by, if you want to use PEX, by push fitting. So you would order a 1/2 inch FIP by 1/2 inch push fitting to get that job done, right? If you're going to connect this together, if you had PEX over here and like this, you could order this. You could order a MIP. So this is a 1/2 inch MIP, male iron pipe, by 1/2 inch push fitting to make this connection, right? And I can't screw, there we go. And you're always checking to make sure that it's a good tight fit, right? There's no slop like we were talking about before, okay? When it comes to push fittings, there's all kinds of different types. This is a lot of plumbers don't like push fittings, but that's kind of the way everything's going. It's easier, it's faster. They don't last as long as a compression fitting will. I can tell you this fitting will last way longer than this type of fitting will. Okay, but these have O-rings in them, and the O-ring will degrade over time. The hot water will break it down. So it will. It's not a permanent fixture. You don't want to put this behind a wall. I can tell you that. You don't want to put sheetrock over it because you're going to have a leak some days. So these are fine in an open area, but they're not going to last forever, okay? This lasts way longer, but we don't use copper anymore, okay? So when it comes to shark bite fittings, or push fittings as they are called, let me just show you this, the comparison between the size differences. If you have a piece of pipe that you're connecting to at a restaurant, and you know this is 1/2-inch pipe, right? A lot of times it'll say on the pipe, this one's kind of worn out, but it would say 1/2-inch right here. You would get a 1/2-inch shark bite fitting, right? So you look for it, it says 1/2-inch right there. And when you're new to doing this, well, even when you're not doing, I still do it. When you're going to put these in, you want to make sure that they have a deburring tool that you get. You rub it on the top of this right here to take the sharp edge off. Because when you're pushing it on there, that O-ring that's inside there, if this is really sharp, could cut it, and then you're going to have a leak. So you want to make sure, it's really important, whether you do it with copper or you do it with PEX, that you're trimming off that edge, right? I always mark where I'm going to put this in. So you see, it's going to stop right there. The pipe, when it's inserted all the way, it's going to stop right there. So I would put a mark. I'd take a black magic marker, I would mark it right there so that I would know if I got it in all the way. Because when your hands are really slippery or whatever, and you go to push that in, it'll grab right away. I mean, it'll grab. Let's see, I'm going to push it in just a little bit. It'll grab instantly right there. And I could tell you, it's only in right at the very beginning. But if you were to slip, you wouldn't know how far you got it in. Now I can't get it out. I mean, you get that tool to get it out, okay? So this is on there now. So you might think you got it all the way in, but I just pushed it in another 1/2-inch, okay? But if you had a mark right there, you would see that you've gone in deep enough there. I think that's super important to do. I do it, and I've been doing it for a long time, right? What else can I tell you? There's all kinds of adapters. There's reducing T's, right? This is called a T. So if you needed a T, this would be a 3/4 inch reducing T. 3/4 inch by 1/2 inch reducing T, right? This would be a 3/4 inch to 1/2 inch reducing coupling, right? This would be a 3/4 to 1/2 inch reducing 90 push fitting. So it'd be 3/4 inch by 1/2 inch 90, reducing 90. This would be it's pipe thread, right? So this is 3/4 inch pipe thread by 3/4 inch push fitting adapter. So this is a male adapter, 3/4 inch by 3/4 inch. Male iron pipe to push fitting. Barbed fittings. You got usually this side's typically always male iron pipe, right? There are female iron pipe barb fittings. I don't have one on the table right now. And then you would use the ID of the tubing that you need. And to explain that too, some of these pipes, we're always using the OD. See, on this, we're using the outside dimension on this one, the outside diameter, I'm sorry. So this is a 3/8 compression fitting, but we use the OD of this pipe. This pipe can be used two ways. You see what it says right there, 1/4 inch. They're talking about the ID on here. So barb fittings use ID, and compression fittings use OD for the most part. There are exceptions everywhere, right? If you're going to use a T, this would be a T. This is 3/8 FIP, 3/8 FIP, 3/8 FIPT, and you'll see it spelled out that way. Let's talk about bushings for a minute. I think I already covered bushings. We're not going to talk about bushings. Let's talk about valves. If you're ordering a valve, they can come threaded or compression. You'll see compression fittings on the outside, so you can order it FIP by compression. This is a, so if I needed this valve, what would I order? I would order a 3/8 FIP by 3/8 MIP ball valve, right? And in case you didn't know, ball valves are always, this is on, so the water would be on because this is running in the way of the pipe, right? So if I was to turn off the valve, it stops the flow. There's a little ball, they call it a ball valve because there's actually a ball in there that spins out of the way. I don't know if you can see that or not. See that ball turning? So when it's open and you can see all the way through, it's with the pipe. So you can always tell if the valve is on or off by the way the handle is, right? That would be off because you just shut that ball valve. Okay, let's talk about I'm going to talk about ABS just for a little bit. In our drain world, we use 2-inch pipe for the most part. There's 1.5 and 2-inch, right? ABS is, some places can't use ABS, they use the white PVC, but it all works kind of the same. You would for PVC you would have to use a primer and glue. ABS, you can just use just the glue, and there are some all-in-ones out there that are available, but this is all going to be based on the needs you have. So fittings, they're the same as these little guys. So they're going to be 90s, right? There's going to be 45s. So this is a 90-degree elbow. And then you have 45-degree elbows. Okay. This part's important. This is called a hub. And it's kind of basically the shoulder, but they call it a hub. And so you want to make sure that your pipe goes all the way in to that. And I do the same thing. Mark it right here before you push it in, because if you're pushing it into a wall and you lose grip, you don't know if you made it in far enough, you might want to mark it, okay? There's also, this would be a male adapter. So is this thread, do you think this is a hose thread? Or do you think it's a pipe thread? I could tell you it is a pipe thread. Okay, it is uniform. Threads start right off the top, and you get about 8 threads per ½ inch or so. Okay, so you would need to put some pipe tape on this to screw it in. Okay, so what would you call this without a picture? This would be a 2-inch. I know it's 2-inch because I memorized it over the years, but it says 2-inch on there. It might even be on here somewhere. Anyways, so this would be a 2-inch male adapter, male pipe thread by hub, right? Speaking of hubs, so let's say most of these fittings have hubs in them, right? So the pipe's going to stop here, pipe's going to stop here. On this coupling that goes all the way through, the pipe's going to stop here. When it comes to these fittings, they call this a no-hub connector. You'll see these out there. And there's no stop it there. You can push this pipe all the way through, right? So it's really good to use these when you got maybe a jagged pipe that you're using that won't seal very well, and you can use this if you don't have very much pipe on one side, but you got a lot on the other. For whatever reason, you can move this anywhere along the pipe to make your seal, as long as it's the right size. This would be a shielded fitting, shielded hub connector. Here's some more important information here. So whenever you're using drains, so there's ABS, there's PVC, there's cast iron pipes out there. You hardly ever see cast iron anymore, but they're out there, or copper. Now the OD of an 1.5 inch copper is way different than the OD of a 1.5 PVC. A 2-inch, the OD of a 2-inch copper pipe is way smaller than this pipe right here. But whenever you're buying these fittings or these couplings to join those, this is what these numbers mean. So this will go for 2-inch cast iron or plastic or steel to 2-inch cast iron, plastic, or steel. So this will do all three of those pipes together. It's just made to grab all three sizes of that. Okay, that's what you're looking for. So you got MIP, FIP. You know what that means. You know what male pipe thread is, female hose thread is. You know what all those are, right? We're good to go. Let's say you needed a faucet. Let's talk about braided hoses for a minute, and then we'll be done here. You need a braided hose. You want to make sure when you're looking at the tag at the store or online or whatever you're going to order it from, these all typically have little washers in them. If it has a flat washer, you could probably guarantee, like these hoses that we get, these garden hose thread, if it has a really flat washer, it's probably going to be a hose thread, right? That really deep hose thread. If it has this type of gasket in it, it's going to be for pipe. And that's what these say on here, right? So you know what you're looking at. This one says it's a 1/2-inch female iron pipe. So FIP means female iron pipe, right? Iron pipe. And the other side of it is also the same. So this one does the same thing. It's the same on both sides. 1/2-inch FIP by 1/2-inch FIP, right? It's the same. If I needed to connect to this compression fitting, right? This one has the ferrule on it. So how do I connect to that? Well, you would take this off, right? And you would get a braided hose that has the ferrule built in and that compression fitting. And right here it says 3/8 compression, which is that side, by 1/2-inch iron pipe on that side. So this pipe, this would screw right on there. And you would not need the ferrule or anything else because this is a compression fitting on that side, okay? So it's real important to know whether you got hose threads, pipe threads, compression threads, right? If you don't want it to leak. So I think that's all we got for you. So if you have any questions, let me know. But it's really simple, really. You just have to get your first identifier. And you guys, like I said, you guys are always used to working with 3/8. So get this size memorized in your head and then just step up from that. And then look at the pitch of your threads, right? And then you have to remember that pipe threads need sealant, compression threads don't. Hose threads need a gasket, right? And happy plumbing.